Welcome to the Schmoopydady streaming experience. I'm your host, as per usual, Schmoopydady. In case you're watching this video, I'm a monthly Hearthstone Wild Legend player who typically hits Legend first of the month, and after that I goof off, and when I goof off, I play your decks. But what I want to do right now is just take a little look at the meta post Day of Rebirth Miniset. Want to tell the story of the miniset. The miniset gave us a brand new funny deck in Borlock. Essentially, we are cheating out Mask of the Bat with Blood Bloom and playing Mask the Bat on Elwyn Boar, which, once 7 have died, gives us the Sword of 1,000 Truths, which is a 15 attack, 3 durability weapon that when you swing it at the face of your opponent, it reduces them to it blows up their mana crystals, and they basically start their turn with 1 mana crystal, unable to do anything about it. The funny thing is we got like that 1 new deck, you could argue maybe 2, with some sort of Basher and Rage Warrior that I'm seeing people like Boogerworms start to, take their time to refine and goof around with it. But it's like, the mini set wasn't very impactful. We said there were a couple things that were going to be okay in Wild. And the funny thing is Boarlock isn't really that good, which might be surprising to some people, because I think some people would play the sort of decks that they'd want to play and be like, man, I just can't beat boars. It's really, really polarizing, and it's creating sort of a kind of a soft rock, paper, scissors type meta situation. So here's the thing. The meta was a lot slower before the mini set came out. Seedlock, which here, if you look at it, is right now 4th as far as like win rate goes in Wild. That was doing very well. I think that was like, in an argument for top deck, along with, Call to Arms Paladin, which is also still doing pretty well, as you can see by the statistics. But Seedlock auto loses to combo. A lot of times it's hard to race combos like Holy Wrath or Barnes Druid, or in this case Borlock. And so queuing into Borlock was super bad for Seedlocks. I hit Legend before Borlock was a thing. My wife, on the other hand, struggled to hit Legend with the exact same list, very similar approaches. She's a pretty good player, because she would just queue into boars, and boars would just beat her. But she was doing okay into everything else, right? Like Seedlock's very good into Disco. It's very good into most of what's on the list here. But just uniquely, if Borlock is popular, it's very polarizing to the meta. It's very polarizing against slow stuff, and it's very, 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 very bad into aggro, which is why we're seeing Discolock shoot way, way up. If Boar is popular and people are playing Boar, Disco basically just dunks on it. If you want to dunk on Boars, play some sort of aggro. And interestingly enough, don't just play some sort of aggro. We're also now sort of seeing some like mid-rangey Tech W Highlander lists also take off. Let's take a look at like this Highlander Hunter, for example. Okay. You have to really dig to find exactly what kind of list that we're talking about. But if you dig down to minimum 100 games, you start finding this list, which is very similar, if not the same as the list that hit 12 wins in the Brawl. And if you look at it, it's just like very tempo forwards, right? Like we've got like stuff like Snake Oil Salesman, Sneaky Snakes. We can, we're awakening Tremors. We're making 4/1s that are pushing a lot of tempo. And then a little bit of tech starts running in, right? We've got Far Watch Post. We've got Colt Neophyte. These things can slow down some techs. We've got our Jormunger package. We've got the Broken Hero Power package. Razor Scale. Smothering Starfish is kind of great in this meta. I think it's pretty good into Disco, especially if you've got a merchant on board who has eaten a Soul Barrage, and now you're just deleting the Soul Barrage. Smothering Starfish sort of like hits strays and a couple other things in the meta. We've got Okani. So like, Speaker Stomper, you get the idea where you're just kind of like curving out, and then if you can also curve the high tempo tech cards while you're doing it, you can make life kind of difficult for the opponent. I'm not so sure about Mojo Master Zihi. I've been very pro Zihi in the past. I think if you're seeing a lot of Druids, maybe. Zihi for me was a lot better when Reno Lone Ranger cost 10 mana. When Reno Lone Ranger cost 10 mana, Zihi was a sick, like, turn 9 play. Like, you'd play a 3-drop, and then you drop Zehi, and then all of a sudden it's like, holy shit. Hunter is going through the 4s and 5 drops all over again. We got to some really high impact 4s and 5 drops, right? Like, we can, like, boom pistol bully and basically pass an opponent's turn. We can Hope of Kael'Thas and buff a huge board. We can do some interesting, powerful things at 4 and 5 mana with Highlander Hunter, and I could see this beating Borlock because Borlock has to, like, you know, once Borlock goes down below 8 health, they have a really tough time, unless they're running something like Rotten Apple, of getting back above it and then comboing, right? So the longer you can delay the combo, the longer you can push them off, the more aggressive you can be hitting them in the face, the better off you are. And I think Reno decks that are like this are going to be successful in this kind of meta. If you look at the Highlander Shadow Priest, look at this. Dude, a positive Shadow Priest that's like tier 2-ish win rate. What the hell? If you look at the list, the deck that's featured looks a lot like Engines, right? Almost 1,000 games, pretty close to a 50% win rate. And it's just like curve out. You know, Miracle Salesman, Neophyte, or Papercraft Angel, maybe Far Watch Post on curve. Cathedral or Banker, Razor Scale, Okani, right? And you just keep going down the line, and it's all kind of like pretty decent tempo, pretty decent push for board, pretty decent, you know, disruption. Until you have like the really crazy, you know, greedy pop off at the very end with Aviana, Alun's Chosen. If you get this card down, and then you've also managed to get your sister from your ETC, and now you've got a 1 mana, you know, shadow whatever it is called, right? And you're just ripping them for 1 mana, and the spells cost 1 mana, and some of them are super expensive and crazy effects. It can get a little silly with Shadow Reaper Anduin. I think this deck is fine. This is a deck that I'm going to be playing very soon when we finally do Highlander Survivor. I've been, like, swamped at work and swamped at life and coaching my son in soccer, so it's been very tough for me to stay up on stuff and start that. I keep threatening to start it, and I can't. But, yeah, like, this list is fine if you're looking for, like, something Highlander to play. I still think the best decks in the meta are probably some sort of Discolock, Call to Arms Paladin, and probably, I would say, right now, still Seedlock. Seedlock dunks on so many of these things. Call to Arms Paladin would probably be the same list I'd play with Filterphobe. If you're interested in how to play the deck, we do have a guide on the channel about how to play it. Discolock is interesting in that Discolock right now, and I'll make sure I include the rank 1 list that Jock Skinner just hit rank 1 with, but it looks sort of something similar to this, I believe, this second list. We're running Darkmoon Statue. Right now, Darkmoon Statue is bugged. If you corrupt it, it not only gains +4 attack, but its stats actually double, so it turns into an 8/10, which is kind of nutty. 3 mana, 8/10. That gives all your other minions +1 attack. I don't know. I've heard mixed reviews. I hear the stats on this card put it somewhere in, like, I don't know, put it somewhere in like the middle of the pack as far as things to do. Like, it's a little bit worse than Tiny Knight, but at the same time, if you go wide and you have a big wide board, and you're pushing wide because you're playing stuff like Blood Treant, the attack buff is not insignificant. And the Cursed Souvenir is just Tech W. I don't know if this is actually Jock's list. I'll make sure that I include Jock's list in the little tiny list when we do it, but like, you get the idea. It's like, this is fine. And if we want to talk about like whether it's abusing a bug, I don't think you can really take that to mind. I mean, the Hearthstone is so buggy at this point that, in my opinion, I'm going to follow the Martian Blue philosophy that I've chosen to adopt, which is it's not up to the players to decide whether or not a card is working properly. If a card isn't working properly, they can just ban it. They can just get rid of it. And yeah, so like, Statue up, check it out. It's kind of fun. I don't know. I haven't really played a statue. I think I played like a statue list once. It seemed fine. But it punishes Borlock. So if you really hate Borlocks, play some Disco. Other fun things. XL Shadow Priest is making a little bit of a comeback. I know that Sparrowclaw has recently hit rank 1 playing this list. A fun card that's been included in this list is the Hawkstrider Rancher. I hardly know her. If you get the Rancher down, basically everything after that is super, super sticky. So, like, if they remove it, it's just a bunch of little 1/1 shitters sitting on board for Void Touch to tend to come down and just clean up by just punching you in the face. It's so funny that we've cut the Ethereal Oracles and they've come back. And if you're running something like Miracle Salesman, you can really sit on the snake oil and wait until you play the Ethereal Oracle, and then not only deal 1 damage with the snake oil, but tutor your burn to finish out the rest of the game. Great into Boarlock, I'm assuming, which is another reason why this deck is probably doing very well. Aside from that, like, you know, obviously I'm going to close my picture for a second so that you could see. Okay, no face cam. Borlock's way down here. This is a spicy version of Borlock, this XL Borlock with a 48% win rate. I'm going to include Dr. Light's latest build that he's been sort of cooking around. I've seen Copper Scum try to cook the deck. I've seen KVLT try to cook the deck and give up because I like KVLT, I don't think it's very good. But it's also running Crane Game, so that you could do some Blood Bloom Crane Game stuff and do like a big demon type package where you're summoning Mal'Ganis and you're summoning Morarg Forge Fiend. I think that's the 8/8 that gets you armor. And you're summoning the new Scorcher with Rush and Lifesteal. Like, there's a lot of life gain and a lot of big tempo, and it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of cube lock, but like not doing cube lock stuff, while also running the Boar combo where you can just blow up the board and make the Sword of Truth and win the game. Borlock itself, like, it sucks. Like, look, it sucks. It loses to aggro. It loses to faster combo. Barnes Druid is making a comeback solely off the back, I think, of Borlock's popularity. Borlock's popularity is dropping. Disco's popularity is rising. Nazmani Priest, yikes. That's a little scary at how popular that is. And the top 5K. Nazmani Priest, still Nazmani Priest. It's a faster combo than Borlock, and Borlock doesn't have a ton of answers to it anyway. So that's what we're kind of looking at. I think if you're looking to climb right now, low-key, high-key, if you can manage Nazmani Priest, and I think the Boar version, the new one, where we've got the Stone Tusk board, and we're just slapping light speeds on it, it's not that hard to pilot. I think Disco, deceptively hard deck to pilot. There's a lot of gambles that you have to take, and there's a lot of decisions that you make that are like completely imperfect, that I think make it like almost my ideal aggro deck because it's hard to bot, but you absolutely can get hated on by some extra large builds with lots of removal and lots of healing. I think Seedlock is still a solid option. I think Call to Arms is still a solid option. It's just definitely Seedlock feels like there are some auto losses when you queue it on ladder right now. And Call to Arms Paladin at times feels like Call to Arms Paladin. You know how that goes. Like, there are some games where you don't draw what you need and you just die. But I can confirm that playing Borlock into Call to Arms Paladin sucks, because the Trapdoor Spiders are an absolute nightmare if you're trying to get an L1 board to stick to play a spell on top of it. So that's what the meta kind of looks at right now. I'll include a couple little spicy meatballs right at the very end. Nothing really super crazy right now. The meta's different, but kind of the same in a weird way, where like stuff's been shuffled around and aggro is actually kind of like pushed up right now and kind of uplifted, which in a lot of ways is typically a good thing for the format. I just don't like decks like Borlock itself existing. It feels very Charge Druidy to me, right? Like, we had Charge Druid for a while and it drove people nuts because when you were going to lose to it, you were always going to lose to it. When you were going to beat it, you were always going to beat it, and it wasn't terribly interesting to play against. And that's I kind of feel like Borlock is in a similar position, but its popularity is dipping. Unlike Charge Druid, which popularity was always going up. So people enjoyed playing Charge Druid. People like are trying to make Borlock work, but the population is dropping. I don't know if it's dropping lower down the ladder, but honestly, if you're playing it into piles, I could see it being very effective and very fun to play. If you're playing it into a wall of aggro, you're going to feel like putting your nuts in a vice and making it tighter. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing on my YouTube channel. And hopefully in another 2 weeks, we'll do another one of these videos, and maybe we'll see less of this stuff. And I don't know, some more enjoyable decks. See you next time.